Single dad Marcus worked 3 jobs after CEO Victoria fired him and destroyed his life. 6 months later, he found her trapped in a burning car. Marcus could have walked away and let her die. Instead, he saved her life. What happened next shocked everyone, including Victoria herself. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. Marcus Thompson had been awake for 36 hours straight, working 3 different jobs just to keep his daughter Emma fed and housed. The construction site during the day, cleaning offices at night, and driving for a delivery company on weekends, it still wasn't enough. Emma was only 7 years old, and she deserved better than their tiny apartment, generic cereal for breakfast, and secondhand clothes from thrift stores. Everything had fallen apart 6 months ago when Victoria Sterling, the CEO of Sterling Enterprises, destroyed his life with a single phone call. Marcus had been head of maintenance at Sterling's headquarters for 8 years. He'd worked his way up from janitor to supervisor, taking night classes to learn building management. He'd been proud of his job, proud that he could provide for Emma even though her mother had abandoned them when Emma was 2. Then Victoria decided to cut costs by firing all maintenance staff and hiring a cheaper contract company. She didn't care that Marcus had a daughter to support. All she cared about was saving money. "It's just business," Victoria had said when Marcus begged her to reconsider. Nothing personal. But it was personal to Marcus. Personal when he told Emma they were moving to a smaller apartment. Personal when he explained why they couldn't afford her art classes anymore. Personal when he saw other kids with new backpacks while Emma carried books in a plastic bag. Marcus tried to find another maintenance job, but the market was flooded with laid-off workers. Every interview ended the same way: "We'll call you if something opens up." So Marcus took whatever work he could find, part-time jobs that paid half what his old position had. Some nights he was so tired he could barely see straight. But every morning he got up and did it again because Emma needed him. Victoria Sterling had no idea what her business decision had done to his life. She probably didn't even remember his name. But Marcus remembered everything about the day she destroyed his family's future. Marcus was driving his delivery truck through downtown at midnight when he saw the accident happen. A black luxury sedan ran a red light and slammed into a concrete barrier, spinning twice before coming to rest upside down. Marcus's first instinct was to keep driving. He was exhausted, needed to finish his route, and didn't want to get involved. Emma was sleeping at Mrs. Rodriguez's apartment next door, and he needed to pick her up before his morning construction shift. But as Marcus drove past the wreckage, he saw smoke rising from the engine. Someone was trapped inside, and if it caught fire they would die. Marcus pulled over and ran toward the accident. The car was destroyed, glass everywhere, metal twisted. He could see someone moving inside, trapped upside down. "Help me," a woman's voice called weakly. "I can't get out." Marcus crawled through the broken passenger window, cutting his hands on glass. The woman was bleeding from her head, her leg clearly broken. But what shocked Marcus was that he recognized her face. It was Victoria Sterling. The woman who had fired him and destroyed his life was now trapped in a burning car, helpless and scared. For a moment, Marcus hesitated. This was the person who had caused him months of suffering. Part of him wanted to walk away and let Victoria face the consequences. But then Marcus thought about Emma, and what kind of man he wanted to be for his daughter. He thought about the values he was trying to teach her about helping others and doing the right thing even when it was hard. Marcus pulled out his pocket knife and cut Victoria's seatbelt. She fell against him, unconscious from pain. The smoke was getting thicker and sirens were distant. Marcus dragged Victoria out just as the engine burst into flames. He carried her away from the wreckage and laid her on the sidewalk, checking her pulse. "Stay with me," Marcus said, applying pressure to a cut on Victoria's forehead. "Help is coming." Victoria's eyes opened briefly, unfocused. Who are you?" "Just someone who happened to be here," Marcus said. He didn't tell her his name. He didn't want her to know that the man saving her life was the same man she'd fired. The paramedics arrived and took Victoria to the hospital. Marcus gave a brief statement to police but didn't stick around. He had deliveries to finish and a daughter to pick up. The next morning, Marcus saw the news report. CEO Victoria Sterling was rescued from a burning car by a mysterious Good Samaritan who disappeared before police could get his name. The reporter explained that Victoria was in critical condition. The doctors said if she'd been trapped 5 more minutes, she would have died. Emma looked up from her cereal. "Daddy, that lady looks familiar. Do we know her?" "No, sweetheart," Marcus said. "We don't know her." Over the next few days, Victoria's accident dominated local news. Victoria appeared on television from her hospital bed, offering a $50,000 reward for information about her rescuer. "I owe my life to someone and I don't even know his name," she said. Marcus watched with mixed feelings. $50,000 would change his life completely. But taking money from Victoria felt wrong, like letting her buy her way out of guilt. Besides, Marcus knew Victoria's gratitude wouldn't last long. If she discovered her rescuer was a former employee she'd fired, her appreciation would quickly turn to embarrassment. Victoria Sterling was not a woman who left debts unpaid. As soon as she was released from the hospital, she hired a private investigator to find the man who'd saved her life. "I've narrowed it down to 3 possibilities," investigator David Chin told Victoria during a meeting in her office. Victoria was still using a wheelchair and had visible scars, but her determination had only grown stronger. "Emergency responders said a delivery truck was parked near the scene," Chin continued. 3 drivers were working that night in the downtown area. Victoria studied the files Chin prepared. "What do we know about these men?" "First candidate is Robert Martinez, works for Quick Ship Delivery. Second is James Wilson, independent contractor, former military. And the third?" Chin hesitated. "Marcus Thompson. This one is complicated." "What do you mean?" "He used to work for your company. You fired him 6 months ago during the maintenance restructuring." Victoria felt a chill. "You think the man who saved my life was someone I fired?" "It's possible. Thompson was working for Metro Delivery that night, and his route would have taken him past the accident scene." Victoria stared at Marcus's employee photo. She remembered the restructuring but didn't remember individual faces. To her they had just been budget line items. "If it was him," Victoria said slowly, "then a man I fired risked his life to save mine." "Most people in his situation would have kept driving," Chin agreed. Victoria made a decision that would change everything. "I want to meet all 3 candidates. I'll know my rescuer when I see him." Marcus received a call Thursday morning while getting Emma ready for school. An assistant from Sterling Enterprises wanted to schedule a meeting with Ms. Sterling about a matter of mutual interest. Marcus's stomach dropped. He'd been dreading this moment since seeing news reports about Victoria's search. "Can I ask what this is regarding?" Marcus said, keeping his voice steady. "Ms. Sterling is meeting with individuals who may have information about her recent accident." Marcus wanted to refuse, but knew Victoria wouldn't give up. "I can come in Saturday afternoon." Saturday arrived, and Marcus found himself walking into Sterling Enterprises for the first time in 6 months. Everything looked the same: marble lobby, expensive artwork, security guards. But Marcus felt like a different person. Victoria was sitting behind her massive desk when Marcus entered. She looked up, and Marcus saw recognition flash across her face. "Marcus Thompson," she said, her voice softer than he remembered. "Please sit down." Marcus remained standing. "Miss Sterling. You were there that night, weren't you? You're the one who pulled me out of the car." Marcus looked around the office that represented everything he'd lost: steady paycheck, health insurance, dignity. "Yes," he said finally. "I was there." Victoria's eyes filled with tears. "You saved my life." "I did what anyone would do." "No," Victoria said firmly. "Not anyone. Especially not someone I had treated unfairly." Marcus felt anger surge. "Unfairly? Is that what you call it?" "Marcus, please sit down. Let me explain." "Explain what?" "How firing me was just business. How my daughter and I didn't matter as long as you saved money." Victoria flinched. "You're right to be angry. 6 months ago you told me my anger wasn't your problem. You said it was just business and nothing personal." "I was wrong," Victoria said quietly. "I was completely wrong. Do you have any idea what the last 6 months have been like for my family?" Marcus asked, his voice shaking. "Tell me," Victoria said. "I work 3 jobs now just to pay for basic necessities. I'm working 70 hours a week, and I still can't afford the same apartment we had. My daughter had to change schools, give up art classes. She asks why we can't afford things other kids have, and I don't know what to tell her." Victoria was crying now. "Some nights I'm so tired I can barely function. I've missed school plays because I was working. My daughter is raising herself while I run around the city trying to make enough money to survive." "Marcus, I'm so sorry." "Sorry doesn't pay my rent," Marcus said harshly. "Sorry doesn't give my daughter back the stability you took away." Victoria wiped tears from her face. "You're absolutely right. But Marcus, the decision to outsource maintenance wasn't about you personally. It was about stockholder pressure and budget requirements." "So it wasn't personal to you," Marcus said. "But it was personal to me. Personal to Emma." Your business decision destroyed our lives. And then you saved mine, Victoria said. Even after what I did to you, you risked your life to save mine. Why? Marcus thought about the question. Because I want my daughter to grow up believing that people should help each other. I want her to know that doing the right thing matters more than getting revenge. Even when the person doesn't deserve help? Everyone deserves help when they're dying, Marcus said. That doesn't mean I forgive you for what you did to my family. Victoria nodded slowly. I understand. But Marcus, I want to make this right. You can't make it right. You can't give me back 6 months of my daughter's childhood. But I can try, Victoria said. I want to offer you your job back. Head of maintenance with a raise and better benefits. Marcus stared at her. You think offering me a job fixes everything? It's a start, Victoria said. But there's more. I want to create a fund for employees affected by corporate restructuring. Severance packages, job placement assistance, family support. I want to make sure what happened to you never happens to anyone else. Marcus was quiet for a long time, processing Victoria's offer. Part of him wanted to refuse. But another part thought about Emma, and how much easier their lives would be with steady employment again. Why are you doing this? Marcus asked. Because nearly dying changes your perspective, Victoria said. Because lying in that hospital bed gave me time to think about the decisions I've made and the people I've hurt. The man who saved my life showed me what real character looks like. I didn't save you to teach you a lesson. I know. You saved me because it was the right thing to do, even though I didn't deserve it. That makes it even more powerful. Victoria stood slowly, still using her cane. Marcus, I've been running this company for 10 years, thinking success meant making difficult decisions without letting emotions get in the way. I thought caring about individual employees was weakness. And now I realize that caring about people isn't weakness, it's the only thing that makes success meaningful. You taught me that. Marcus looked out the window, thinking about families struggling to make ends meet, people affected by corporate decisions made by executives who never considered the human cost. If I take the job, Marcus said, I want to be involved in this fund. I want to make sure it actually helps people instead of just making you feel better. Agreed, Victoria said immediately. I want you to help design the program. You understand what struggling families need. And I want to guarantee that you won't fire me again when the next budget crisis comes. You'll have a 5-year contract with termination protection, Victoria said. But Marcus, I hope you'll stay longer. I hope you'll help me build a company that actually cares about its employees. Marcus thought about Emma, how excited she would be when he told her they could move back to their old neighborhood, that she could take art classes again, that Daddy wouldn't have to work 3 jobs anymore. There's one more thing, Marcus said. Anything. I want you to personally apologize to every employee who was fired during the restructuring. Face to face. I want you to look them in the eye and acknowledge what your decision cost them. Victoria nodded. I'll start tomorrow. Marcus's first day back at Sterling Enterprises was emotional. The remaining staff welcomed him back, but Marcus could see wariness in their eyes. They were happy he was back, but they knew that if it could happen to Marcus, it could happen to anyone. Things are going to be different, Marcus told his team during their first meeting. Ms. Sterling has committed to treating employees as people, not just budget line items. But we need to hold her accountable. Over the next few months, Marcus worked closely with Victoria to develop the Employee Security Fund. They created programs for displaced workers, emergency assistance for families in crisis, and job training opportunities. The hardest part was watching Victoria apologize to former employees. Some forgave her easily, grateful for severance packages and job placement assistance. Others were still angry, unwilling to accept that her change of heart was genuine. I don't blame them, Victoria told Marcus after a particularly difficult meeting. I destroyed trust that took years to build. Earning it back will take even longer. Emma adjusted quickly to their improved circumstances. She was back in her old school, taking art classes again, living in a nice apartment where she had her own room. But the best change was that Marcus was home more often, able to help with homework and attend school events. Daddy, why is Miss Sterling being so nice to us now? Emma asked one evening while they worked on an art project together. Marcus had struggled with how to explain the situation. Sometimes people make mistakes that hurt others, and then they try to make up for it by doing better. Like when I broke Sarah's toy and bought her a new one with my allowance money? Exactly like that, Marcus said, impressed by his daughter's understanding. Does that mean Miss Sterling is a good person now? Marcus thought about the question. I think she's trying to be a better person. That's all any of us can do, Try to be better than we were yesterday. 1 year after the accident, Sterling Enterprises had transformed from a company known for ruthless cost-cutting into one recognized for employee welfare. The Employee Security Fund had helped over 200 families, and the company had been featured in business magazines as a model for ethical leadership. Victoria had changed too. The near-death experience and her friendship with Marcus had made her more compassionate. She still made tough business decisions, but now she considered the human impact. "I've been thinking," Victoria said to Marcus during one of their weekly meetings. "I want to expand the Employee Security Fund into a non-profit foundation." "That's a big undertaking," Marcus said. "I know. That's why I want you to help run it. You understand what struggling families need." Marcus was honored by the offer. "Victoria, I'm not sure I'm qualified to run a foundation." "You're the most qualified person I know," Victoria said firmly. "You've lived through the problems we're trying to solve." Marcus thought about the opportunity. It would mean helping families like his own, families struggling with job loss. It would mean turning his painful experience into something positive. "I'll do it," Marcus said. "But I want Emma to be involved too." Victoria smiled. "I think that's perfect." 2 years after pulling Victoria from a burning car, Marcus stood before an audience at the Sterling Foundation's annual fundraising dinner. Victoria sat in the front row with Emma, who was now 9 and helped design programs for children affected by family crises. "When I lost my job 2.5 years ago," Marcus said, "I thought my life was over. I was angry, desperate, and convinced that the world was unfair. But sometimes our worst moments become the foundation for our best ones." He looked at Victoria, remembering the night that changed both their lives. "I learned that helping someone who has hurt you doesn't make you weak, it makes you strong. I learned that forgiveness isn't about forgetting what happened, but about choosing to build something better." The audience applauded, but Marcus was thinking about Emma, and the lessons they'd both learned about second chances and doing the right thing even when it's hard. After the dinner, the three of them sat together in Victoria's office, planning the foundation's next initiatives. "You know what's funny?" Victoria said. "I used to think that saving money was the most important thing I could do. Now I know that saving people is much more important." "It took almost losing your life to figure that out," Marcus said with a smile. Emma looked up from her drawings. "Daddy, do you think other people can learn these lessons without almost dying or losing their jobs?" Marcus and Victoria exchanged a look. "That's exactly what we're trying to do," Victoria said. "Teach people to care about each other before crisis forces them to." As they worked together planning programs to help struggling families, Marcus reflected on the strange journey that had brought them all together. He'd saved Victoria's life, but in doing so, he'd also saved his own. He'd taught her about compassion, but she'd taught him about forgiveness and second chances. Sometimes the people who hurt us the most become the people who help us grow the most. Sometimes saving someone else is the first step towards saving yourself. And sometimes, the worst day of your life is actually the first day of a much better life. The man who'd pulled a stranger from a burning car had no idea he was also pulling himself and his daughter toward a brighter future. But that's how real heroism works. It changes everyone it touches, often in ways no one expects.